Hey, what is up, everybody? It's Damron. We are playing Elder Scrolls Online. We are doing Veteran Maelstrom Arena in this video, and we are doing it as a Stamina Nightblade. In the sense of updates, we are a part of the High Isle expansion at this point, so that may be relevant to some of the gear that I have. But we are playing as a Stamina Nightblade on Veteran difficulty. Now, we are obviously going for the perfect run, which is complete Maelstrom Arena without dying and without leaving the arena. I like to use the dubious, drink because it's going to give me a little bit of extra health. As a Stamina Nightblade, we really don't have many ways to heal ourselves, and the way to get through this dungeon as a Stam Blade really is about maintaining resources and being able to get ourselves shields so we don't die. We can dish out the damage, no problem. So with that, we're going to be running a set or a couple sets that really give us a lot of shields. The first of which is the Prayer Shawl set. The fifth ability of that is going to give us a shield whenever we overheal, and there's an ability we're going to use we're going to proc that quite often because it procs every 2 sets. I like to run the Krog set Monster Helm because it adds penetration just for 1 slot, and I use a infused health for a little bit more tankiness. And I've also got the Hexos Ward set, which this is also going to give us a lot of critical hit chance, and every time we land that critical chance, we are going to get a damage shield that lasts for 6 seconds, and that can proc every 7 seconds. So we're only talking about 1 second delay between keeping these shields up. We're also running the Oaken Soul Ring. This is going to get nerfed a little bit, but the shield should still be very good for a solo run through here because we're going to get a lot of major and minor perks. Some of these are going to be changed to minor perks with update 35, but it's still good for this style here. The skills that we're going to use that are really going to make this build take hold, we got Cleave. We're running a 2-handed maul. That's going to help bleed enemies, so that's going to help out a lot just with DPS. We're running Surprise Attack as our main force of damage. Relentless Focus, of course, because we're going to get that extra weapon and spell damage, and you just only have to proc that every minute, but also every 5 light or heavy attacks, we're going to be able to use a really good damage burst. The key to the skills is Swallow Soul. Okay, this is what's really going to give us that overheal and proc that Shawl set all the time, because we're going to be using this. It lasts for 10 seconds, and as we have that overheal, we are just going to be very, very tanky. So you can see with this setup, I've got a good amount of health, and I still have a decent amount of stamina. So let's go ahead and start the Veteran Maelstrom Arena. We're going to into the very first stage. There's 9 stages. If you're going for the perfect run, you probably know that by now, and the first of which is Veil of the Surreal. This is obviously the easiest of all of the stages, but just briefly, let's talk about the sigils, because one of the things that we're going to focus on is when to get the sigils and when are good times that can really help you. When are the most dangerous moments of this run that are going to take you down? So the shield sigil back there is not only going to increase your defense, but more importantly, it's going to reflect projectiles. There's a couple moments throughout this run where that's really, really nice. You know, obviously there's a bunch of different builds, you know, a lot of sorcerer builds that make this super easy, but as a Stam Nightblade, this is very challenging. Okay, so the other sigil is the axe, which is going to increase your power. It's going to increase your damage. Obviously, you see right here in front of me, which kind of looks like the speedy boot. That's the haste sigil. The haste sigil is not only going to make your speed increase, but really more importantly, it's going to increase the recovery of all your resources. So that's really, really nice. And the last sigil, which to me is the most powerful sigil, is the sigil of healing. It's going to really provide you basically overhealing, and with this build that we're running, it's actually going to help us proc our Prayer Shawl, because we got overheal. We're just going to constantly be keeping that shield up. So with this kind of build, you're going to see me using a lot of these skills as we're going in, right? I'm going to use the Swallow Soul, and I'm going to get that overheal, and that's going to be proccing my shield. And then I'm going to be using Surprise Attack to land a lot of critical hit strikes, and that's going to be giving me even more shield. Okay, and at that same time, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on my bleed whenever I'm fighting bigger enemies with Cleave, and then I'm also running that Relentless Focus to just increase my overall DPS and provide me with that proc arrow that we're going to do a lot of extra damage with. The fifth ability that I'm running on an X slot right now is Ambush. Ambush is really, really good in this arena because not only does it basically take down the enemy's defenses where you're going to do more damage to them when they're affected by it, but it also provides us a really good way to get around the areas of the arena really, really quickly. We can kind of teleport long distances as we're kind of jumping through the air with this skill. So that's really, really nice. That's overall the gist of kind of how we're going to approach and use the skills throughout this arena. So I'm gonna let this play out just a little bit. We'll touch base a little bit on the boss, but the first stage of Maelstrom Arena is very simple. This should give you no problem. If it is, the only thing that I will mention is that in regards to the sigils and throughout your playthrough, you're gonna see me not really pick up a lot of them. I'm gonna show you key times when you really need to, but there's a lot of times that I don't grab them. And if you're struggling with a particular area, feel free to pick them up. We're not really going for the high score in this run. We're going for that achievement to get the perfect run and the Flawless Conqueror as a Stamina Nightblade, which to me is probably one of the most difficult classes to pull this off in. So we're on the boss here, Max the Mini, super easy. He spawns some kind of duplicate forms, so to speak, but you don't really have to focus on them. You can just kind of burst him down. Another thing that is very good about how we're kind of running this is we have a lot of burst damage, okay? AoEs aren't that great in Maelstrom Arena. It's a solo veteran arena that is really going to benefit a lot from single burst damage, and that's why we got cleave, ambush, surprise attack, and we're hitting them with that swallow soul. So we've cleaned up the first stage, and now we're on to Seths Balcony, and Seths Balcony stage 2 is really where we're going to learn that the most dangerous aspects to surviving a lot of these stages are actually the environmental hazards, not necessarily enemies that are going to spawn. And this is one that's just kind of annoying, because you got these spinning blades just kind of going around the map the entire time, and if you stand in those, they are going to damage you. If it just goes by you, it doesn't do a lot of damage, but if you tend to be walking in the same direction as the blade, staying in that AoE, that can really do a lot of damage to you really fast. So one of the things that I do recommend is changing your AoEs to a bright color. That's going to help us not only in this particular playthrough, but all the veteran content in the game. So I've got all my AoE indicators, my enemy AoE indicators as bright pink, right? So I can see it. I'm zoomed all the way out in the sense of my field of view, right? So I can see as maximum amount of the arena as possible, and I can avoid these. Now there are 3 switches located at the periphery of the arena that you can pull and actually stop the blades momentarily. It'll also stop the electrical pulse that's in the center, and if you go to that center, you just saw it just blows you back. But I don't really like focusing on trying to get those and stopping the blades during the round, because it only stops it momentarily, and sometimes actually going to those switches will put you in more danger than help you, right? What I like to do is actually stay over here near the haste and the health sigil, and I'm not actually going to grab them in this particular playthrough, but I find it more beneficial if my health's getting low, things are starting to hit the fan, and I'm not getting my shield procs like I really want to. I actually find it more beneficial to just pick up the health sigil. The only time that I typically use the switches is at the beginning of the round when nothing's going on, there's no enemies. I may just stand next to it and kind of stop them early on. In fact, I think in this playthrough I almost die on the boss battle because I spent an extra second trying to get that switch. So again, I don't want to prioritize those switches. I want to prioritize bursting down these enemies and staying near the health sigil if I need it. So we're going to go ahead and finish up this round, and then after this we're going to be on the boss of Seths Balcony. So again, Seths Balcony is not too bad, but it's really the first arena where we really need to start paying attention to those environmental hazards. So once we finish off a few rounds, you're going to have basically 3 dwarven constructs that spawn in as part of the boss battle. They're going to spawn in one at a time, and they theoretically, I wouldn't say that it's shared health, but once you do enough damage to one, he'll kind of go down into a shielded state, and the other one will get up. And you can only attack, or you can attack anyone that you wish, but the only one that you're really going to do significant damage to is the one that's standing up. So right here, you see, I stood there trying to get that switch, and it almost cost me my run, right? There was no need for me to do that. I ended up hitting the switch and stopped the blades actually right on top of me. So that was dumb, right? So that's what I'm talking about. It's not really that beneficial to focus on stopping the blades. Focus on bursting the enemies down. If you're going to run the build that I'm running, keep running your Swallow Soul, keep hitting that critical damage, and the blade shouldn't really cause you too much trouble because the shields should be absorbing all of that damage. Now when they do the heavy attack that you saw right there, you can block that pretty quickly. They'll also do a spinning attack where you're going to see a large AoE around the Centurion champion themselves. Again, you can either block that, but if you have your shields up, it's not really going to cause you too much damage. So let's burst them down and let's get moving on to the third stage. Oh! Oh my god. Just got blown away. Alright, so we have finished up Seths Balcony. Go ahead and grab your loot, head through the portal, and now we're on to the third arena, which is Drome of Toxic Shock. This is a very, very easy arena. I think it's easier than Seths Balcony. The first kind of 4 stages are relatively simple. I think when you're doing these perfect runs, the first 4 are more just time sinks, right? You're like, dang it, I gotta rush through all these again. But nonetheless, Drome of Toxic Shock, we've got 3 mounds. It's kind of very similar to March of Sacrifices, where the water's either gonna be electrocuted or the actual boss is sitting up on the edge throwing like little poison bombs onto the grass mounds. So if you're on the grass mounds, just pay attention to the large circular AoE that's going to cause poison damage. But remember, the sets we're running give us a very nice resistance to poison damage, so it's not really going to be too much of a problem for us in this particular level. There's not really a lot of enemies that are going to cause you a lot of harm as long as you're using Swallow Soul on all the kind of little ad-like enemies. You should keep your shield up, no problem. There are going to be some, stranglers that will spawn out into the periphery. You're seeing that right here. Again, they'll throw kind of poison shots onto the land as well. You can take them out. They're not actually part of the round per se, so if you don't kill it, the rounds will actually still advance, and these stranglers could actually build up, and there could be several of them. So I do like to take them out when I see them. But the key, what really makes this easy as one of the stages is that the vast majority of the enemies that you fight are really easy to burst down. They have not a lot of health at all. We're talking like a couple light attacks and a surprise attack, and you'll probably kill them. So it's super, super easy. So we're just gonna kind of blast through these ads. There's not really much too much to talk about in the Drome of Toxic Shock. So we're just gonna go ahead and finish off these ads, and we'll touch base just a little bit when we get to the boss, and we'll talk about that just briefly. Even with the shields, like that lightning damage when I'm in the water, it's not even really that worrisome. The damage outputs that's going to happen to you in the Drome of Toxic Shock is very minimal. This is a very easy stage to get through. Now, the second to the last stage, there will be the Queen's Advisor that comes out. It's kind of like a little sub-boss, so to speak, but she's pretty easy. She will keep like a large AoE around her sometimes, and she'll be doing these lightning strikes, but again, not going to cause too much damage. As long as we're keeping our shields up, you can kill her pretty quickly. Alright, so when we get to the boss stage of the Drome of Toxic Shock, she's going to spawn over here right in front of this wooden gate. You can actually bust a lot of damage off of her right in the beginning before really anything happens. The water will not be electrocuted, so I tend to just ambush over there. I should have got out of that scream. That probably cost me a little bit of DPS. But go over there, hit her with the ambush, cleave, start surprise attacking, using your relentless focus, and you can probably burst off a good 50 or more percentage of her health, depending on your DPS, right off the rip. And all the ads that spawn in as you're fighting her, they will continue to spawn in, so we don't want to focus on them too much, because once you kill the Lamia Queen, everything will end, right? All the ads will go away, so we really just want to focus our DPS on the boss. She doesn't have too much health. I am running tripods, and you saw me use one there. That's kind of like my oh shit moment whenever like I'm about to die, and I just kind of use that tripod. So I do recommend having tripods equipped as your potion if you need health and or resources. That's a good way to just kind of get them really quickly. That, again, I just kind of keep that in my back pocket as a oh crap moment. So moving on, we're going into Seths Flywheel. To me, this is the second easiest stage, right behind the Veil of Surreal. There's really not too many threats that are going to kill you. It's just simply about going through and killing all the enemies. There's not a lot of things that are going to cause a lot of damage to you. Even the final boss in this this area isn't going to cause a lot of damage to you. The things that really you need to focus on are the healers. Just go ahead and make sure you're taking them out, because you don't want to just be damaging enemies that are being healed. So I tend to try to focus the healers down if I can. The mechanic in this is the clockwork sentries, which really are pretty useless. They'll come in sporadically and go to the center, and if you don't kill them quickly enough, they'll be electrically charged, and they'll basically shoot little electrical shots across the floor. And if you're not taking them out, they could actually surround the entire center platform and just start shooting electrical shots all around. If you take too long, you'll see they get a shield, but you can even burst through that shield relatively easily. So if you're in a battle, don't be like, oh, I gotta go kill that clockwork sentry. Even if they get the shield, you're gonna be able to take them out super quick. It's not gonna cause a lot of damage to you. Moving into phase 2 or round 2, you're gonna have a couple dwarven spheres that are kind of coming in, but again, it's the same kind of enemies. Very simple single burst down enemies, dwarven spiders, healers. We're gonna have some overchargers, but they're not gonna cause a lot of damage to us with the shields that we have. Now, I will remind you, if you are struggling in any areas of this, remember those sigils are going to respawn every round. So if you need to grab stuff every round just because your survivability is not as high, or you're not pushing out the damage, so you want to be grabbing that power sigil, feel free to do that. There's no harm. This is not a high score run. This is all about survival. So let's push on through, and we'll touch base a little bit about the boss, but this is relatively easy. So let's just kind of burst them all down and get through this. Alright, so we've kind of cleared it off and we've gotten to the boss here, and this is one of the easy, if not the easiest, other than the first level. The Control Guardian, basically when he has the green AoE underneath him, you need to stay in that AoE, and you can pretty much almost kill him just like this before you even really get to the next phase. Do your rotation. You'll see I'll probably have him down like under 30% or something like that, but you just stay in the green AoE that's underneath him and just keep beating him up. But when that green AoE goes away, you need to get away, because now he's going to be basically launching Fire Blast underneath him, and if you're in that, that will actually do significant damage to you. And he'll also be launching like fireballs that are just kind of landing in the arena wherever you are. And again, those are going to damage you if you just stand inside them, but you can just keep moving around, keep your health up, and then eventually he will stop doing that, start moving again, and you can get underneath the green AoE once again and finish him off. So it's super easy. Again, other than the very first stage, I think this is the second easiest stage, and this is where things start to get a little bit tricky. This is where most people are going to start having trouble getting the perfect run, and that is in the Rink of Frozen Blood. When you come in here, you're going to know 3 ice caps are around a frozen lake. So basically, these are where you are safe to stand. If you're in the water, that is going to do significant amount of damage to you, and you will die very fast. And the mechanic that is going to be in play in this particular arena is there will be some troll breakers that spawn, and they will go to one of the ice caps and start smashing it like you're seeing here. And if you don't kill that troll, he'll actually break the ice cap. And when they do that, that limits where you can be for the rest of that round. Now, after the round is over, if they did break, kind of an ice cap, then it will respawn in the second round. But what I do is maintain focus on the troll breakers. If they spawn, I take them out. You really don't want to be limited in where you can go because you didn't take out one of the troll breakers, especially in kind of the later waves when we're going to want to rotate to specific places. And again, I'm going to show you probably the most efficient way to do it and the most safe, the safest way to do it. And that's what we're doing, right? We want to basically survive. The damage will come, right? So again, troll breaker spawns, I'm going to go ahead and take him out. Now the second most and the third most dangerous things on the board are actually these heart finders and also the chill fiends. Those do significant damage, from a distance, right? So you want to take them out. A lot of the times they'll actually be sitting in the water, and that can cause problems. So you really want to be on the ice cap when they spawn. So you see I went over there and I took that one out as soon as possible. Now I'm going to make my way over to this troll breaker, and this is why ambush is really nice to use as a Nightblade in this arena, because we can really kind of jump locations and avoid the damage of just kind of running through the water. So you're seeing me use an ambush a lot to kind of skip distance and avoid taking that kind of continual dot damage of the frozen lake. So that's really important. And things are, pretty kind of okay for the first 3 rounds or so. It's kind of getting you acquainted with the enemy types that you're going to see. But again, focus on the trolls, focus on the heart finders. You want to get those out first. You don't want to be taking that, bow and arrow damage and just all of a sudden die because you didn't take them out. And the chillbanes also do a significant amount of damage with their ice staffs. So you really want to be able to take those out as soon as possible. Things like the ice atronach and things like that, you're not really going to have to worry about the damage from them as long as you're not just standing in front of them, right? Just kind of focus on all the other enemies, and then we'll take down the bigger enemies once we've kind of cleared out a little bit of the ad control, which is kind of just the smaller ads, right? And now we can kind of burst down this atronach, and then we'll be over here and take out the limiteds, right? There'll be a second frost atronach that spawns in this wave as well. But again, you can see what I'm prioritizing, right? I'm prioritizing these heart finders, I'm prioritizing these chillbanes, and I'm prioritizing the trolls. The ice atronach, it'll come. The limiteds, they will come. It's no rush, okay? The worst thing you can do is start rushing. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where you're taking a lot of damage from the archers and from the mages, pick up that shield sigil, right? Pick up the defense sigil, because that will actually reflect the damage. You won't take any archer damage, and you won't take any of the chillbane damage. Okay, so I didn't pick those up in the first 3 rounds, but in rounds 4 and round 5, I really do like to just make sure I use the sigils, play it safe. I don't really have any reason to hold on to him. I like to start on the one that has the health sigil, because a chillbane is always going to spawn right here, so I try to burst him down as quick as possible. I kind of got a little messed up here because the troll kind of came over here and kind of caught me off guard, but luckily I took down that chillbane. And then often the second chillbane will be coming from the defense and the power sigil ice cap, so you can take him out, generally take down the 2 ogres, and then what I do is I generally will go ahead and pick up that health sigil. I didn't right there because the troll ended up coming, and I was like, all right, let me burst him down real quick. And to be honest, I generally always grab this health sigil right here just as a way to play it safe. I don't know why I'm not grabbing it right now, but I just went ahead and I'm just gonna go take out that chillbane, right? I don't know why. Maybe I was just playing a little more risky, but trust me, this is an area, this round 4 is very dangerous. You can die from those chillbanes pretty quickly, and then Boar's heavy attack can do a lot of damage. So I recommend picking up that health sigil and then making your way to the platform that I'm on now, and you can even pick up the defense and the power sigil and kind of just finish it off really quick. So that's a round right there that personally it's going to be a lot safer if you go ahead and pick up some of the sigils. Now for the final round, this is pretty tough. I definitely, again, I'm going to start on the ice cap that has the health sigil. I'm going to go ahead and get my rotation in on the matriarch as best that I can, because now in this phase, he will break 2 ice caps automatically once you get his health down to certain percentages. All right, so the first things that are going to spawn, you're going to have an archer. You see right there, 75%, he's going to bust that ice cap. Luckily, when he does that, if there's a troll on the board, it freezes the troll, so the troll won't break one and him break one at the same time, because you cannot let any of the trolls break any of the ice caps or you will lose, because he will automatically break 2. So if the troll breaks the 3rd, then you'll be stuck with nowhere to stand, and you will be on the frozen water, and that dot will eventually kill you. So that's, you have to be careful. So you see that right here. I'm like, oh crap, there's a troll over here. I need to take care of that and not worry about the main boss anymore. Also, I need to burst down this chill pane as well, because that does a lot of damage. Another thing that you're going to notice is he'll scream, and it's very frustrating if you're caught walking between two ice caps and he screams and stun locks you in the actual frozen water. So whenever I get over here, I just go ahead and pick up the power and the defense sigil. One, I can take down the boss a little bit faster now that I have the defense sigil, but also the archers that are going to spawn in after he goes under 40%, I don't have to worry about them because I've got the defense sigil, and basically I'm just going to reflect all the damage from that archer over there, so I can basically just stand, go toe-to-toe with the matriarch, finish him off, and then all the other ads will just simply disappear. So you see, I didn't worry about them there. I just picked up those sigils and finished him off. That's the safest way to play this round. I know it's a lot of stuff that I just went over, and it's very quick and it's very hectic, but feel free to watch this part again, because this is one of the most challenging stages in this particular arena. So now we're moving on to the spiral shadows. The spiral, you know, if you made it past the frozen rink, then this is very easy. I'm going to show you a very easy way to finish off the spiral shadows. Notice that there's a lot of pillars around here that have some spider webs on them. Take note of that when you start. One of them will not, always the central one, and that one's kind of glowing gold. Basically, these horvers that are coming in right here, this venomous horver, they'll be coming in every 15 to 20 seconds or so. If you kill one, now you'll be able to use your synergy and throw venom at the pillars, which will destroy the webbing. Okay, so that's one thing you need to know. And then the other thing that's going to happen is some web spinners will come in and they'll try to re-web the pillars, and you'll see that a little bit later on when we get into kind of some later rounds. The first few rounds again are not too bad. These are actually longer rounds in this particular stage because the enemies kind of trickle in throughout the wave. But nonetheless, you're seeing me kind of clear out these pillars. One of the things that's going to happen is they'll say the swarm is coming, which are these like tiny little red spiders. When that comes, you need to go to the glowing pillars. I actually glitched out right here. I was like, no way, is my run going to be busted right here? I'm actually inside the pillar. This has never happened to me, but I'm totally glitched inside the pillar, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, how do I get out? Look, I look down, I'm actually in the pillar. I'm stuck, and I'm like, how am I gonna get out of here? I can't even remember how to do it. I'm like, well, I better take out this Atronach so I don't die. And I think I tried to use my ambush. Luckily, I have ambush slotted, and I was able to use ambush to actually get out of this glitch. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I ambushed that Horver. Thank God, and it got me out of that glitch. That was crazy. But again, what we want to do, focus down, burst on all the enemies, and we're going to kill those Horvers. One thing I will say about the Horvers is if you kill them next to one of the pillars, it will automatically, the venom will automatically kind of burst and take out the webbing. And also, if you don't get to it soon enough, you see that AoE over there happening from that dead Horver. If you don't synergize it with it quick enough, eventually the opportunity will go away. So here's the web spinner that I was talking about. They're really easy to kill. Just kind of take note. Keep an eye out when they come in. They're trying to web those pillars, and the reason that that's important is because if they web all the pillars and you have no, you know, kind of glowing pillar, when those swarm spiders come, you've got no safe place to go to, and they do a lot of damage really, really fast. So that's something to keep in mind. So now the mechanic that we're talking about with the pillars and the Horver and the web spinners is essentially if you take the webbing off of all the pillars simultaneously, all of the pillars will begin to glow and everything on the board will become stun locked. And that's exactly what happened right here. And I didn't actually mean to. I guess I killed a Horver close to my last pillar, because ideally what I really want is to save one pillar that's ready to be kind of de-webbed for the boss phase, and you're going to see that a little bit later on because it's going to stun lock everything including the boss. So now what I did, unfortunately I'm trying to use my synergy on that Horver and I ended up picking up the health sigil. I kind of messed up a lot here, but essentially you'll see you can make mistakes and you can recover, because on the wave before the boss we have plenty of time to de-web all of the pillars except for one. And that's what we want to do. Before we get to the boss phase, we want to have 4 pillars de-webbed and 1 pillar remaining. That way when she spawns in, we're going to de-web that last pillar, stun lock her, and then essentially just burst her down. That's pretty much how we're going to make this particular stage very, very easy. So I don't really typically try to use the stun lock method until, you know, the very end. So right now what I'm focusing on is, okay, I need to get my my webs kind of my pillars de-webbed again, and so that I can prepare for this final boss. So that's actually what you're seeing me do here. So that Spider Kith Captain, don't worry about that. As long as you're kind of just bursting him down, he's nothing to worry about. He's kind of just a small ad. Again, and web spinners can't indicate that enough. If you see them, you need to take them out, or they will just kind of go around and kind of web all the pillars. So these last couple waves in the Spiral Shadows stage are actually pretty long, again, because the enemies kind of just trickling in. So let's go ahead and just make our way through this. I'm just going to focus and kill everything real quick, and we'll touch base as we're getting near the end of the next round. Alright, so here we go. We're kind of approaching the end of the round, right, or end of round 4 before the boss round. And this is where you want to kind of, okay, make sure I've got all the pillars de-webbed except for one. And again, I get a little unlucky here because I'm going after this lurcher and I end up killing this Horver and stun locking the board again. Okay, so this is not what you want to do, but I'm going to show you that it's okay. When you get to the part where you have 2 lurchers, basically what you can do is you don't have to kill one. Okay, I'm just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna let him run around, and the web spinners and the Horvers are gonna continue to spawn. So I'm like, all right, I can get prepared, just don't kill him. And now I'm gonna de-web all of the pillars except for one. So again, if you want to use the pillar mechanic throughout the fight, feel free, because you know you're gonna get to this point here and you just take your time and de-web the pillars so you can prepare for the boss. But again, it's not really what I was trying to do. Obviously, it's going to slow your time down if you're someone that's kind of going for high scores. But again, not a big deal. That's not what we're trying to do, right? We're everyday gamers. We're just trying to get this perfect run, get that Flawless Conqueror title, and get the achievement, and just probably the last achievement that many of you have in the Orsinium section of your journal. So here we are. We've only got 2 more pillars that are webbed. So I know now, okay, I can just go ahead and take out this last Horver, and I'll go ahead and de-web this pillar over here, and now I'm ready to go to the boss battle. Okay, so I've only got 1 pillar left, so now I know I'm ready to go into the boss battle of Spiral Shadows. So let's take out this lurcher, and now I need to find the pillar that is still webbed, which is right here. I'm right beside it, and I'm going to find the Horver that's coming in. So I'm going to kill this Horver. I got a pretty long shot here. Now these, where you're synergizing it, where it's going to go is where you're aiming. So now I've hit that, boom, I've stun locked the Champion of Atrocity, and I can just get into my rotation and pretty much burst her down so much that I don't really have to worry about much else. Now, if you do get in trouble, okay, and you want to go grab some of the sigils, or if you want to grab some of the sigils before you stun lock her, okay, go ahead and do that. But with the stun lock, you should be able to get her under, around or under 50% health like I did, and essentially we don't really have much else to worry about. We can kind of just focus her down and finish off this fight. The reason it's very, very important to stun lock her is if this fight takes too long, she kind of has a one-shot mechanic that will essentially kill you if you take too long. So it's definitely worth taking your time in the round right before this to make sure you've only got 1 pillar left. Use it, and it makes this boss battle a breeze. This boss used to give a lot of people trouble, but that is a very, very easy way to do it. And we've finished this area, and we are on to, in my opinion, the most RNG part of the Maelstrom Arena, the Vault of Umbrage. The Vault of Umbrage is very, very frustrating because of the poison that we're going to be dealing with. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to go into this portal and start the 7th stage. So here we go. We got a lot to talk about in the Vault of Umbrage, and there are several points in this particular arena that can kill you if you're not ready, but I'm going to kind of point out and highlight some times that you need to pay attention. Okay, so right here, those plants, if you are close to them, they will kind of create an AoE around them and they will poison you. And if you poison you, then you have to go to one of the two kind of green lit pools of water that are on either side of the stage, and if you go in there, it will cleanse you. If you do not do that, that poison dot will kill you. And when you use those pools to cleanse you, that pool is no longer available to you for the rest of the round. So if you're being, not careful and you get poisoned several times, you're dead. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. So you want to, at all times, stay as far away from those plants as possible. Again, zoom your POV out. We are kind of just keeping an eye out, and what you're going to see me doing a lot is kind of circling my camera. I circle around a lot to make sure I'm not near any plants, because as you get into this arena, what's going to happen is there are going to be enemies that spawn of one of 4 of these circular platforms, okay? And I'm going to show you right here, because that's the mechanic of this dungeon. The Argonian Venom Callers, which are not part of the round enemies, they will just be spawning periodically on these stone pillars. There's one on each side of the kind of, antidote pools, so to speak, on either side of the room. And when they spawn, they make all of the plants automatically blow up, and then they just keep having plants pop up through the ground and immediately explode. So if you don't kill them, then those plants sometimes just spawn right at your feet and you can't get away and you're poisoned, okay? So you gotta be very, very careful when they spawn. So if an Argonian Venom Caller is on the board on one of these small stone circles, that is ultimate #1 priority. Okay, now also in these rounds, one of the other priorities are the venom shots, because what they do, if you'll see them charging up their bow, you need to either interrupt them or you need to go kill them pretty quickly, because that heavy bow shot can kill you. Now, if you're kind of in the midst of a battle and you start seeing all these plants explode, you know there's a venom caller somewhere. So you saw that just now. I'm immediately looking around, I'm figuring out where he is, and I'm taking him out. To be quite frank with you, the enemies in this particular dungeon are not the problem, it's the poison, and that's the RNG of this particular Vault of Umbrage that's going to frustrate you. But I'm trying to give you the best way to kind of approach it so you can beat this, okay? And that's why you're seeing me constantly circle my camera. Boom, I just spotted one up in the upper right corner. I'm already on my way over there. I'm going to take him out as soon as possible. Generally speaking, I only let them explode one set of plants, which is kind of automatic, and then I'm off to kind of bursting down my enemies again, okay? But nonetheless, these plants will, surprise you. You're trying to roll dodge, or you're trying to get away from somebody, and you're gonna get hit. It just happens. If you happen to die that way, just suck it up, exit the arena, and come back. It sucks because this is 7 deep, right? And you're like, oh my God, I gotta play another 20 to 30 minutes just to get back to this point. And personally, I find this to be more frustrating than the final level. So here we go again. One of the things that I do is when the Wamasu spawns, I pick up the health sigil and I pick up the defense sigil. And the reason I do that is because this kind of ground attack that he does that sends out the shockwaves on the floor does a lot more damage than you think. You're like, oh, it's just a Wamasu, I can take it out. But trust me, if you think like that, you've probably died from this Wamasu at least once or twice, thinking that it's easy. We're 7 deep, don't risk it. Pick up the health, pick up the defense, take out the venom crawlers, and then avoid venom callers, and then take out that Wamasu. Okay, that is by far the easiest strategy to get through that wave with as little frustration as possible. So there was the venom shot I was telling you about. You saw him charging up, so I immediately ambushed him, interrupted him, and bursted him down. That heavy shot from that bow does a lot of damage, so be very, very careful of that. Again, other than the poison, to me, that's probably the second most dangerous thing in this arena. So here we go, another venom crawler. I'm going to go there, boom, take him out, and I'm not worrying about any of the plants exploding, and now we can go back to taking down our enemies. So I'm hopefully breaking it down, as simple as I can for you guys, but just know that this arena is frustrating. Now, one thing I will say about the poison clouds, you saw me kind of roll dodge out. Even though it exploded as I was kind of exiting the AoE, it looked like I'm okay, but don't risk it, okay? If you think you may have got hit, just go ahead and go to the pool. So you saw me back up into the pool. I didn't use it. I didn't need to get cleansed, but I still went back there anyway, because if you hesitate and you're like, oh, I don't think I got hit, by the time you realize you did get hit, then you're dead, right? So same here, like I was like, oh, did I get hit? But I actually did. And also, if you keep your indications on, right, your closed captions, it'll tell you on the bottom of the screen that you're afflicted with the poison. So I do recommend using the subtitles in arenas, in veteran content. It's really going to help you out. So the last part of this wave is going to be 2 swamp trolls that spawn at the same time. Again, they seem like they do a lot of damage and they're a little bit scary, but they really don't. We're just going to burst them down. The venom, again, the venom callers are actually more deadly than them. So now we're on to the boss battle, and this is not too bad if you use the strategy that I'm going to show you. Okay, and my strategy is, 1, if there's a venom caller, take it out. But now I'm going to burst down the Argonian behemoth as much as I can, and I'm just going to kind of stand and go toe-to-toe with him. I'm not picking up any sigils yet. I'm just doing as much damage as I can, because basically once you do enough damage, he's going to spawn some enemies into the game, and those are the Argonian miners or menders. And basically when you kill one of them, he will start screaming, and the other one will create a safe bubble. And look over here, the venom crawler that spawns in actually dies from the scream of the behemoth. But you need to stand in this Argonian mender's bubble, and then whenever the screaming is done, you can kill him. And now we're actually pretty safe. We're in the clear. What I like to do is just go ahead and burst him down a little bit more, and I'm going to kind of try to get him around 50%, okay? And what you're going to see around that 50% range, okay, I'm at 57, I'm going to go ahead and just pick up the sigils, right? I'm not risking it. I'm grabbing the power sigil, I'm grabbing the defense sigil. Oh, there's a venom crawler. Let's take him out. We got plenty of time. You don't really need the haste unless you're having some issues with maintaining your resources. But what I do, and the reason I grab those, is once you take him down below 40, you're going to get another set of the minders that spawn in. But don't kill them. Just leave them there. You're going to reflect all their damage because you got the defense sigil, and we can just burst down the boss, okay? And the reason I like to do that is because I don't want to have to deal with another phase of killing one and then having to get away from the scream. Because if something happens, and you never know, that scream is essentially an instant kill. So that's a very safe way to do it. It's going to keep you alive, and boom, we're on to stage 8, the igneous cistern, which is ridiculously easier than the 3 levels that we just finished. But don't get ahead of yourself. You can still be killed here, but I'll show you the most dangerous aspects. In fact, I think I actually have some trouble on the boss here. I just kept getting stuck with some guys spawning that were really causing me some trouble. But overall, this is a much easier stage than the Frozen Rink, than the Spiral Shadow and the Umbral stages. This is much easier. First wave, you're going to have some Atronachs come in. The things that you really have to worry about are the Dremora Kindgulds, because these guys have Inferno staffs, and sometimes they will basically do an attack where they put their staff in the air and they're just launching fireballs at you. And that is the most dangerous thing of this entire arena. Everything else is pretty chill. It's pretty easy. These Dremora caitiffs that do that heavy swing, like it's so easy to know it's coming because the attack is so slow. You can block, roll dodge, whatever you need to do. And the mechanic that's going to happen in this particular dungeon is these stone pillars are going to activate and basically give a protective aura around the enemy that's associated with it. So round 1, it's an infernal destroyer. And until you kind of blow up that pillar, which for some reason the animation didn't work, they should look exploded like the ones you see now. But once you do enough damage, it will, quote, explode, and then you can damage the enemy. All right, and that's the mechanic. That's the same mechanic that's going to happen with the final boss. That's the same mechanic that's really going to happen at the end of every round. But here it is. You see that attack right there? When they put that staff in the air, those fireballs are coming fast, and they will do a lot of damage to you. And if you have 2 of them on the board doing that, you will die very fast. So your #1 priority on this mission is those guys. If you see an Inferno staff enemy, that is priority #1. Nothing else matters. Take that enemy down. If you follow that strategy, you probably aren't going to have too much trouble with the igneous cistern. So again, what should happen with these pillars, so you can see he's got this kind of blue aura around him. You have to go to this warding stone and walk. I'm going to blow it up, and it should explode, right? I don't know what's going on with that other pillar, but it should explode, and now you know that you can damage the enemy. With the first few rounds, you don't have to like redo it. The boss will actually rebuild those pillars, and I'll obviously go over that at the end. But overall, again, igneous cistern, you know, we can handle this, guys. We can handle this. You've gotten this far, and trust me, if you've gotten past the, you know, the rink of frozen, you know, blood, and you've gotten past the umbral stage, you can do this. You can definitely do this. We're doing it on our Nightblades. We all know this is probably the most challenging class to stay alive with, but we're gonna do it. We're doing it right here, right? We got this build, and we're doing it. So, like I said here, these caitiffs, they got these heavy attacks, and they do a lot of damage, but it's so, you know, obvious to see it coming that they're really not a big threat at all. But after you kill these guys in round 3, again, we've got another lurcher, but there will be a Kindgald that spawns as well, so be sure you burst him down before he starts doing that attack, and then we can focus on the warding stone and take out that enemy there, and we're cleared, right? We're getting through it. So we're gonna just let this play out a little bit, and we'll talk here in a second. So the only thing I'll mention about this Flame Knight here, you see that? He'll chain you into that AoE, and I almost died there. All right, that was very, very close. Again, I got a little cocky. If he drops that AoE, try to get him away from that, okay? Because if he chains you in there, it will kind of stun you for a second, and that AoE that's around him will actually do a lot more damage to you than you realize. But again, as I talked about earlier, I used my oh shit tripod, right, to get some health back. Now we're on the final boss. So the way that the final boss works is these 3 warding stones are in here, and basically you have to take all 3 out before you can do damage to the boss. And I made a mistake here because you don't want to take out the 3 too fast, because one of our Inferno buddies will spawn, and that's actually what happens here. And I kind of messed this up because I got ahead of myself. You want to let the Dremora Kindgald spawn before you take out the stone, because what I'm doing now is I'm just wasting DPS time on the boss. And the worst part is, not only did I make that mistake once, but I made that mistake twice. What you really want to do, take out 2 of the stones, wait for that Kindle, you know, to come in, take him out, and then take out the 3rd stone, because you only have a limited amount of time to be DPSing the boss before he basically makes those warding stones kind of reconstruct, and then you got to take him out again. So here I did it again, right? I'm like, crap, what am I doing? I'm sitting here like, I'm kind of nervous, right? We're getting near the end of this. I'm like, all right, the no death on the Nightblade's looking good, and I'm just not really paying attention. So now I'm like, all right, I need to make sure I kill them, you know, a little bit later, because if you do this properly and you take out the, you know, Inferno Staff guy right before you take out all 3 or the last warding stone, you can actually kill this boss generally in about 2, maybe 3 rotations. But I'm just totally butchering it, guys. But I'm showing you, you know, again, if anything you should know from what I'm doing is that this fight is very simple as long as you're taking down the Dremora Kindgalds and you're kind of just staying away from the boss. He doesn't really do that much damage to you, right? And I think right here, after the 3rd time, I'm like, what am I doing? All right, so let me take out this warding stone, go to the 2nd warding stone, take it out, and just slow down. Take a breath, and that's what I'm gonna do right here. So once you take out 2, this is how you want to do it, okay? Don't take out the 3rd one. Take out the Kindgald, and then take out the stone so that you can focus all your time onto taking out the boss. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to take him out, and then now we are ready to... oh man, I almost went down. Again, I'm probably going to grab this sigil here. That's okay. I'm getting in some trouble here, but let's take out this warding stone, and now we've got maximum time to kind of inflict as much damage as we can on the boss. And you can do a lot. I think I might actually kill him right here. Like, you can really kill him in about 2 rotations, not deal with the you know, the Atronachs, not really deal with as long as I was in here. You can do that much cleaner, but again, it's not too dangerous. Just, you know, take out 2 of the stones, Infernal Staff, 1 stone, DPS the boss. Now we're on to the final stage, the Theater of Despair. And if you made it this far, Death 3 on the Nightblade, congratulations. We've got 1 stage to go. Some people say this is the hardest stage. I disagree. I think it's that Poison Umbral stage, because I'm going to show you a very simple way to take this out, talk to you about the most dangerous threats here, and show you a very, very easy way to take out the final boss with rare, you know, really little threat to dying. I think what some people do is they try to take out the last boss too fast, and if you just slow it down, it's really not that bad of a fight. And we're going to slow it down, we're going to take it step by step, and we're going to get through it. So what we need to take note of this board are a couple things. You're seeing the blue kind of spectral ghost, and you're also seeing the gold spectral ghost. If you touch the blue ghost, that is just an automatic damage that's going to happen to you. If you touch the golden ghost, it will actually kind of go, it'll say, you know, restless souls inside you are growing or something like that. And basically, if you collect 3 of them, you will then be able to use a synergy that will stun lock everything on the board and dissipate all the blue ghosts that are kind of going around, and you'll have a free moment to kind of DPS everything that's in the arena. And I'll show you that several times as we're going throughout, because that's clearly one of the most powerful ways to DPS the powerful enemies that are going to be coming to us throughout this, you know, stage. Now, the Dremora Kindgald, again, and this one is the one that's got the bow and arrow. Those are the ones that are the most dangerous in the sense of the Dremora enemies. The mages aren't going to cause too much problems. You can kind of avoid them. They'll try to shoot you, but they don't seem, you know, they don't seem to do too much damage. The second ones that I tend to, you know, focus on are just the melee ones. You're going to have almost some like Dremora Nightblade enemies. They will kind of actually come and do incapacitating strike on you. So you want to take them down. What a lot of people have trouble with are the crematorial guards, and that's because they can do a lot of damage. They'll kind of just breathe fire out, and if you stand in front of him, that dot will burn you down very quickly. But an easy way to take them down is what you saw right there. You can either use the Spectral Blast when you collect 3 of the Golden Ghosts, or if I don't have that, which I'll show you a little bit later, I'll kind of just circle them and continue with my surprise attack. And you just kind of go in a circular motion, and you'll stay out of the actual flame area of effect. And I'll show you that a little bit later. So, you know, we've already bursted through the first 2 rounds. Pretty easy, you know, we're making our way. But so right here, right, you see this flame attack? I just kind of go in a circular motion and just stay out of the conical face of that attack, and generally it won't damage you too much if you do that, and you can still finish off the enemy pretty quickly. You really don't want those, you know, Dremora to be hanging out very long, because that's going to cause a lot of problems if you're being a little bit too slow, because the enemies will just kind of spawn in. You know, it's not based on killing all the enemies. They'll, you know, periodically they will keep spawning in, and if you're too slow, you may get overwhelmed with a lot of enemies. Eventually, the Ravager will spawn in. He's got a pretty, you know, heavy attack, but it's pretty easily choreographed. You can kind of see that coming. So burst him down as fast as you can. Ideally, you're going to take him down before the Ogrim spawns in. And keep in mind, you know, if you guys need to use these sigils, please grab the sigils. If you need a little bit more DPS, if you need a little bit more health regen, or you need a little bit of defense, grab them. They're going to respawn at the next wave. There's no harm in not grabbing the sigils, okay? So just keep that in mind. Really, what I try to focus on is just bursting the enemies down in the order that I told you. The archers, obviously I'm taking down the big guys that have the flame attack, and then I'm taking down the Nightblade type Dremoras, and then the mages, and then the healers, okay? And that's pretty basic up until round 4. Round 4 is when some mechanics start to happen. In round 4, you're going to see the ones that are called the Narkinas, or I don't even know how you say it, but they're essentially summoning Dremora, and they're walking to the central Oblivion sign that is in the middle of the arena. And when they get there, they'll start kind of casting their, you know, staff at it, and if you let them cast it too long, then they will spawn a Bone Colossus. That is not just a typical Bone Colossus, it's a pretty strong one. So you want to take down these guys. You can see how he's summoning it right now. If you let them summon too long, then you know, this round is going to be significantly harder, and you're going to have to deal with that. So here, another, you know, Spectral Blast that I'm using on the Crematorial Guard. Those make them a cakewalk. Don't hesitate to use them, because these Golden Ghosts are just going to be keeping coming, right? You grab one, a couple seconds later, another one's coming in, right? So in this particular round, focus on the guys that are trying to summon the Oblivion symbol. We're going to take down the Crematorial Guards whenever we can, and then we'll take out the other Jamoria enemies. That's kind of the order of preference that you want to do it. Obviously, if you see any gold spectral forms, go grab that. The other thing that I will mention about the golden spectral forms is that they can also hit enemies. They're actually trying to fly to the enemies, and if they touch the enemies, it'll actually make them stronger. Not significantly stronger, but they do get stronger. Even the boss at the very end, he will try to collect the gold ghosts, and he will get stronger and stronger for everyone that he collects. So it is important not only to get the Spectral Blast, but it's very important to minimize, you know, the enemies becoming stronger. All right, so now we are on the second to the last wave before we fight the final boss. And again, this one is not too bad again, all right? We're kind of just doing the same thing we've been doing, focus on the same enemies in the rotation that I've been telling you to. I haven't really been grabbing any of the sigils, but again, if you're at this point, you can grab every sigil every single round. But in this round, what's going to be spawning in is an Ash Titan. It's very important that we burst down this Ash Titan as quickly as possible. The threat here isn't the Ash Titan. He's not really that strong. The threat here is going to become if you take too long. The Ogrim and the Dremora enemies are going to be coming into the fight as well, and you're going to be dealing with them, and you're going to be dealing with the Ash Titan at the same time, and that's when the damage can kind of start to become a little bit too much. So I've bursted him down just as fast as I could. I'm not even worrying about anything else that spawns in yet, and I burst him down, and now I can focus on the other enemies, right? Specifically, look over here to the right. I'm like, oh crap, he's charging up his bow. Get over there and interrupt him. Again, that is one of the most dangerous things in this, you know, in this arena, is that charged bow shot. That will do significant damage, and if you're like a little hurt and you don't see that bow shot coming, it's game over. 9 stages in, pretty frustrating way to go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make sure we're still doing what we're doing. We're bursting down these Dremora, we're collecting our golden ghosts, and also note that the golden ghosts do carry over. So if you collect 2 and you collect your 3rd one in the boss battle, then you've immediately got the Spectral Blast ready for this final fight. All right, and here it is, round 6, the final fight. The last thing that we have to do to get our Flawless Conqueror is take out Voriox Sulkin. He's going to spawn right in the middle. He's going to do a charge shot that will knock you back. You want to try to roll dodge that so you can kind of maintain some DPS in the beginning. I didn't really get that much off, but generally he'll teleport and he'll start doing a charge strike. You saw me interrupt that. You've got to get over there immediately and interrupt that, because what he's doing is he's just firing skulls at you, bang, 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 until you interrupt him. And that will be continuous damage that will take you out. Try to keep your eyes on him, but if you see the Crematorium Guards spawn in, go ahead and take him out, because you can usually get to the second phase of him before a second one will spawn. And that's going to happen around 70% health. When you drop him below 70, he's going to go to the center, and he's actually going to teleport to the upper level of this arena. And the way that you get up there is you have to kill a clan fear near this glowing kind of pedestal, and then you'll be able to use the platform or the portal to get up to the second level. Up here is where people make mistakes, I think. Okay, I fell off here and, you know, making a mistake quickly, but some people try to take down as much crystals as they can and try to do it super fast. Don't do that. Don't play it risky. We're going to slow it down. We can come down here, we can take out the Crematorial Guards, we can take our time. We know we've got the ability to use our tripods, and we've got the ability to use our shields, so we can take our time. We can always come back down here and kind of reset, okay? You don't have to kind of push the limits up there. Up here, I got a little risky, right? I took a lot of damage, and I didn't have my shield, so I went ahead and grabbed that Health Sigil. Again, the Health Sigil is very powerful. So I'm kind of like, I'm just taking my time, right? I'm resetting. I think I got hit by a lich crystal right there is what actually hurt me and did a lot of damage. These things coming up right here. So once you are able to use the portal, we'll go over there again. Now we're on the second level. These crystals, you have to destroy him before he will go back downstairs again. And what he's going to do is he's going to throw a skull at you, and if you don't roll dodge it, generally it'll knock you off. And I got a little bit lucky there. And then what's going to happen is he's going to kind of get ready to do a scream attack. And if you stand behind that wall that's rotating around, you can survive it. But what I'm going to recommend to you is that you don't do that. Don't try to maximize your time up there. The longer you're up there, the heavier the continual damage that you take. When you're up there, you are taking continual damage from just the area that is around you up there. So I don't risk it. I just do what I can, and then I come back down and I reset. And I think if you do this, you're gonna find that this is much easier than you initially thought. Because what people get in trouble is they try to rush the upper section and they end up being killed from multitude of things. You've taken too much damage, and by the time you come back down here, you don't have much health left, and you land in the lava and die, or you come down here and the crematorial guard kills you, right? So I'm going to show you that again, right? I'm going to take out this crystal. I'm going to roll dodge this skull that he throws at me so I can kind of take it out. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to kind of take down this crystal. I'm not rushing. I'm taking my time. I'm going to do as much damage as I can. Again, I could stand behind this wall over here and maximize the amount of time I get up here to kind of take out the crystal. You could do that if you want to, but it's riskier. The longer you're up there, the harder hitting that continual damage is. So I personally think when he screams, it's time to go. It's time to reset. Come back down here, get my overhealing, right? Get my shield, portal back up. Now it's easy. I can go over here and I can kill this crystal in like 2 seconds, and basically we're on to the final phase. So I'm going to take this crystal out, and now what I like to do is go downstairs. I try to roll dodge down there before it explodes, so I'm not kind of stun locked like I am there for a second. But when I get down here, I'm picking up the power sigil and I'm picking up the defense sigil. And if you haven't picked up the health sigil at this point, which I had to, unfortunately, I'm picking up that too. And also you saw a gold specter ghost kind of go into him. You want to avoid that. So if you see a gold ghost, make sure you go grab it. One, we're going to be able to use those to stun lock him a little bit later, as I've mentioned. But also, just like round 4, you're going to have some guys coming in trying to summon a Bone Colossus out of the middle. So you need to be sure you're keeping eyes on them. So we're grabbing the souls with the gold specter, right? We're killing anybody trying to summon in the middle. If a crematorial guard is up, you need to take that out as soon as possible. But you also need to be able to keep your eyes on Boriak, because if he's doing that charged attack where he basically is shooting those skulls at you, you need to go interrupt that, right? So I collected my 3 golden specters and I used my spectral blast, and now it's a cakewalk. He was stunned. I finished him off. Super easy, stress-free, you know, final stage. I think that method that I showed you guys, especially on a Nightblade, is probably the safest way to get through it, okay? And if you've gotten to that point, you probably want to take the safe way. There's no reason to rush it. You don't need to rush it. All the other videos out there, they're trying to burst everything down and do everything super quick. But if you follow what I just showed you, you're going to be able to do it. You're going to have all your lives. You're going to get Flawless Conqueror. You're going to get the perfect run Maelstrom achievement. And that's it. We've beat Maelstrom on Vet as a Stam Nightblade. I hope you guys found this helpful. I hope you found it enjoyable. And as always, if you like my stuff, feel free to like and subscribe. And hopefully, I'll see you around.